So we're going to start talking about what's your baby going to look like. And so at any point, feel free to pause this. There was this guy a long time ago. I'll draw him. His name's Gregor. Today that would be Greg Mendel. Mendel's actually kind of famous. People talk about Mendelian genetics. Obviously, he needs to be wearing a hat. Obviously. Now he looks like a Quaker. Anyway, Gregor Mendel was not a scientist. He was a monk. And one of the things that he did, this is a long time ago, long before they knew about DNA, long before they even knew about cells. I don't even think they had microscopes yet. And he figured out the patterns of inheritance, like how things get passed to children. And to do that, we do a Punnett square. And the Punnett square is very famous. It's the way you can tell what your baby might get. It looks at like the chances. So if someone's pregnant, they would be using a Punnett square to figure out what their children might look like. So, for example, a tall pea plant. You guys are missing out on the fun story, but otherwise this video would be too long. Would have one allele is dominant tall, and the other one is dominant tall. Remember, you can only have two at a time. And in this case, this plant has two tall. So the trait is height. And T is going to stand for tall, it's dominant. And then the other option for pea plants is short. They can only be tall or short. There is no such thing as a medium pea plant. And to represent short, I use the lowercase of the dominant trait. All right, so this is mom. And dad is short. He's got little t and then another little t. And these guys are going to have a baby. If you were the geneticist, they might come to your office and you have two pea plants sitting in your couch. They're going to have a baby and they want to know what it looks like. Mom wants the baby to be tall. Dad wants the baby to look like him. And they ask, what is our children going to look like? So you draw a square. Punnett square. There are squares involved. And then you draw squares in the square. If you need to pause it at any time, do so. Please watch before you draw. Stop drawing, watch. Put your pencil down right now, for reals. Put it down. I take her alleles. Now, when she does meiosis, she's going to offer this and an egg or this. You cannot offer both because they're each on a chromosome, like number 7 and number 7. So those split up. And so she's going to offer, and you'll put her here, either this or this to her babies. And the box is the babies. Dad is going to offer these, and we'll put those up here. And so this is going to represent what the babies could get, the different combinations. And each box is worth 25%, which reminds me of quarters, 50, 75, 100. So if you keep watching, you're still not writing. I'm going to take her T, and I'm going to place it into the boxes that it's in front of. Same thing here. Yes, you can write it twice. I'm putting her T here and here, and then this T here and here. Dad, I'm going to take that little T, and it's going to go in the boxes that it's below, that are below it. And again here, yes, you can use it twice. Another way to do that, the way that I actually do it, is I just scoot them in to the box that they intersect. Little t and a big T end up in here. Little t, big T would end up in here. And in this case, every single one of them has big T, little t. And little t hides if tall is there. This is dominant, so it totally covers up the short, which means that this baby's tall. 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 Dominant wins. And so then I have to break the news to Dad, the pea plant, that there is a 100% chance that their babies are tall. Every single one of them. There is no possibility for one to be short. So Dad gets angry, and one of the little babies grows up and decides to meet up with another plant and have babies. So we're going to do another Punnett square. You turn your white paper over or turn to the next one, wherever you are. Actually, I think you're turning to the next one, so we'll do that together. This is a new white piece of paper. And so one of those babies who was tall finds the love of her life, and that pea plant is also tall. That pea plant also happens to be hiding short. So they're getting married, and they come to you in your geneticist office. They want to know what their children are going to look like. And Dad, he's somewhere off in the back of the office, angry that none of his children were short. And so now he wants to know what his grandchildren are going to look like. So these two, you make a box. One of the parents, it really doesn't matter who, you put here, and you do one and the other. You will never have two written here. That would kill the baby. The baby would end up with 3 over here, and that would be death. And then you take this parent and put it up here. And we look at what the box would have. Take a moment, pause it, find out what goes in here. I'm just going to keep going, but I hope you pause it and do it yourself. So in here, these two match up. So in this box, I have a big T, big T. In this box, I have a big T and a little t. This box, I have a little t and a big T. I have to put the big one first. Get in the habit of putting the capital first. And in this one, I get a little t and a little t. Okay, though there's 2 ways to describe this information. One of them is very genetic-y, and it's called the genotype. Nobody in your office, as their geneticist, wants to hear you talk about the genotype because it's all the weird, horrible science words. So in this case, I'm going to say since each box is worth 25, this one, that's the only time it's 2 capital T's. Doesn't happen anywhere else. 25% of the time, each box is 25. It's big T, big T. 2 of the boxes are big T, little t. What percent is that? It's like quarters, 2 quarters. Whoops, what am I writing? And one of them is little t, little t. This is the genetics. These are the alleles they have. And you actually have to write down the horrible words. When you get both dominant, that's homozygous dominant. Both recessive, both is homozygous. Both dominant, both recessive. If you get one of each, it's hetero. Instead of homozygous, it's heterozygous. And you have to write all that down when you do this. And this is called genotype. This is the stuff that if you have a patient and you start talking like that, they're going to get angry at you for talking like that because they're not going to know what you mean. What we really want to know is what they look like. Is it tall or is it short? And that's the other one. It's not genotype. We'll write it over here. It's going to be phenotype. Phenotype is what they look like. Nobody wants to hear this stuff. Everybody wants to know the phenotype, like what they'll look like in a photo. Family photo, phenotype, what they look like. And I would say what they look like in this case, which Grandpa wants to know. This baby, tall, 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 short. Yay! So that means that 3 of them were tall. And yeah, it's holding this secret short gene, but they're totally tall still. Tall, tall, tall. So 75%, that's 3 boxes, are tall. This data sometimes does not match this because now I'm just looking at what they look like. Tall wins here and here. And then I have 1 box, which is short. And these are chances. If they have 4 babies, chances are 3 of them will be tall and 1 will be short. Will that happen? I don't know. So let's do a human. You're in your geneticist's office, and a couple comes in to see you. This guy comes in that looks like a tomato. It's a person. He has brown eyes. His name's Jack. And his new wife of 3 weeks is Jill. She has blue eyes, and she's so proud of them. In fact, that's the only reason Jack married her, because she's so lovely with these big, creepy, ridiculously weird blue eyes. And she's pregnant with their baby. And they've been married for 3 weeks. Okay. And Jack thinks he loves Jill. And so they want to know what their baby's going to look like. Because Jack has brown eyes, he must be carrying a capital B. And again, trait is eye color. And we already know that brown happens to be dominant in humans and blue happens to be recessive. So we're going to have him be brown and brown again. And Jill, we know that she's blue and blue because that's the only way these show up. Otherwise they get hidden. So we draw them a square. While you're trying to draw them their square, Jill starts talking about her amazing blue eyes and how she's the best, and she wants all of her children to have these beautiful blue eyes as well. All right, here we go. Take Jack's alleles, one here, one here. Jill, one here, one here. It doesn't matter if you flip-flop these, you'll get the same data. And in the boxes, you'd end up with a big B and a little b, a big B and a little b, this. Whoa, it's the same situation as last time. None of their babies are going to have blue eyes. I don't want to tell Jill that yet because she's already kind of angry. So first I tell her the genotype because that might calm her down. This is the genetic-y stuff. 100% of these are big B, little b. As soon as I say that, she's like, what does that mean? And I say, well, it means they're heterozygous, all of them. She's getting angrier. I say, okay, so let's talk about what they actually look like, and I want to do the phenotype for Jill. Jack's starting to get concerned, maybe some sweat, because he's not sure why this woman that he married 3 weeks ago is crazy. Maybe it's because she's pregnant with quadruplets. Anyway, genotype, the other one is not genotype, but what they would look like in a family photo, and it is phenotype. Phenotype's what they look like, and this is where I have to break the news that all of their children will have brown eyes.